This is Bad Movies We Love, part of the Shice Podcast Network.
If you're listening to this, you are the resistance.
Hello, Bad Movie Lovers. I am your host, Nick Scheist.
The master of this stupid stuff!
Welcome back to Bad Movies We Love, where there's just too much Zane for 1 month to contain. And since Billy is such a versatile performer, we're using one of his movies to bridge the gap, and I'm going to let you know what that is in just a minute, but first, a little bit of housekeeping. A quick and massive thank you to all the listeners out there who have helped spread the word, because you've made this show one of the top 10 guilty pleasure podcasts on the whole web, according to feedspot.com. If you're like me and you love your trash with treasure buried inside, you're in the right place. So before we dive in, do me a solid. If you like what you hear, follow or subscribe so you never miss an episode, because we have a long list of movies to go through. You can help out by leaving a rating and a review, especially if you've ever come across one of the movies we're covering here on the show and said, wait, this movie rules. Reviews are like digital word of mouth, and they are probably the best way to help more weirdos like us find the show. And if you really want to support the show, check out the exclusive bonus episodes on the Resistance members-only tier at badmovieswelove.captivate.fm/support. If you want to get in touch with me, you can do so by sending me an email at badmovieswelove@theshice.com. You can also call the Bad Movies We Love hotline at 1-805-285-3885 and leave me a voicemail. That voicemail might even get played on the show. If you want to tell me something but you prefer to remain anonymous, you can do so by taking the listener survey. It's only about 5 questions right now. Should only take you maybe a minute or two at the most. And the information for all of that stuff is up conveniently for you in the show notes, just a click away. And now, on to the fun stuff. As I mentioned previously, we are saying goodbye to Year So Zane Month, but we are saying hello to SupeTember. That is Superhero Month here on the show. We're going to be focusing on superhero films that predate the MCU. And it just so happens that Billy Zane starred in one of those superhero movies from 1996. It's almost like I planned this, because I did. I was joined by one half of the Two Asian Blokes podcast. Dan is back with a fistful of precious gems and a purple spandex jumpsuit as we fight crime in Simon Wincer's The Phantom from 1996.
We're filming The Phantom, Hugh. Get out of the way.
Sadly, The Phantom did not come with a fuckable popcorn bucket that I am aware of.
They're living in the 30s where a ghost is more believable than someone training their son to be a superhero.
Why do you even have Bengali dollars? You live in the middle of the jungle.
I mean, their nation might be on the cusp of nuclear technology, but, you know, laser skulls are always going to be handy.
These laser skulls are going to make me rich.
Yeah, I mean, Treat Williams is definitely larger than life in this movie. He's going at 110%.
Like, oh my god, magic skulls!
As soon as the ghost pulls out a gun, I'd be like, this guy's not a ghost.
He can. His dad's like, man, I've been waiting for you to get laid, son.
These skulls are more powerful than I ever imagined. I've harnessed the energy of the sun. Who needs a 4th skull?
I do. And I know where it is. I've worn it all my life. For protection. I never really understood what that meant until right now.
Dan, welcome back to the show.
Hello.
Long time no see.
You tired of us yet?
No.
Oh, good.
As long as we keep talking about movies like this, I'm never going to get tired.
Yeah, these are the movies that I am definitely going to show up for. These really stupid movies from the 90s that nobody really remembers, but the right people remember, hopefully.
Well, you're flying solo today. Where's Tavi? Did he not pick up his purple jumpsuit from the dry cleaners?
Yeah, I'll quote him on this. He replied to my message saying, and I quote, I'm not really a superhero guy, end quote. So, I mean, your listeners might not know,
Fair.
but yeah, I'm from a podcast that is called Two Asian Blokes. So usually there's two of us. And we primarily talk about Asian pop culture. I don't think The Phantom falls into into that purview.
It filmed in Thailand a little bit, so
Yeah, I guess there's a bunch of Australian elements to this movie.
that's
as well.
true.
So
You're Australian,
yeah,
so that's fair.
so that's why I'm here. Also, I love this movie.
Yeah, well, I mean, that's the primary reason. But this is the second movie in a row that we're talking about that filmed in Australia.
Oh yeah.
After we did Mission Impossible 2, which was really nice actually to see as many people show up and support that movie and give that movie love, and told me that I was wrong and that movie was not a bad movie. And
I'm so
like,
surprised by how many people came to bat for that movie.
Yeah, I mean, I was glad to see it. You know, I'm in another like group of podcasters, and they were like, Nick, I think your show is broken because you've just started covering bangers. And I'm just like, oh, I was like, this movie is beloved. I was unaware. I was like, I knew that I enjoyed it, but I didn't know. And I was like, look, don't shoot the messenger. Like, these are the numbers.
Yeah.
And one of the guys was just joking, like, well, sometimes everybody is wrong. And I was like, okay, well, I'm glad to see this movie getting some love. And hopefully we can do the same for The Phantom.
Well, I think that's the beauty of this podcast is, you know, I feel like these movies have been unfairly judged and they're due for a resurgence. And I think that's kind of what we're seeing now. It's like, you know, hindsight is 2020. So with the benefit of hindsight, we can look back at these movies and say, well, maybe they weren't as bad as perhaps what we're getting now.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. And I was talking to a friend of mine who just recorded the previous episode with me, and we were talking about Critters, but we started, I mean, we get off topic because that's what we do, but we were talking about sort of the notion of movies and film being just part of like the daily content churn. And if movies are viewed as content, then they will be sort of produced as such. And it takes it away from being something special to just consider it content in the way that anything else is, where you can pick up your phone. And so we'll talk a little bit about that, because obviously there's been a lot of superhero movies since this movie came out.
Yeah, two big ones came out just recently at time of recording, Superman and Fantastic Four.
That is true. And in full disclosure, I like them both, but also have issues with both of them.
Sure.
I think I still want to see both of them again, though.
Okay. I haven't seen Superman yet, but I recently watched Fantastic Four. Yeah, it's all right. It's a bit of fun.
Yeah, the stuff that I liked about it, I liked a lot. The stuff that I didn't like, I was like, okay, well, I still like the other stuff fine. And I mean, you're going to give me the Silver Surfer or a Silver Surfer surfing like lava waves. Like, I'm going to enjoy that.
That was sick.
Yeah. The surfer stuff looked great. So I was appeased, I will say.
I guess that's why
I still want more surfer.
Yeah. I guess that's why I try not to judge movies that come out now too harshly, because I'm sure later down the line, you know, the young people of this generation will look back at those movies and think, oh, yeah, they weren't so bad, maybe. Because I'm sure at the time that The Phantom came out, it was critically maligned, right? And did not make a lot of money, yes. I'm sure.
Also true, yes.
But looking back, you know, there's a lot to like in this movie.
I agree. And I mean, we kind of beat around the bush there. Most of the time I do like a more formal introduction, but we've both already mentioned that, yes, we are talking about The Phantom from 1996, directed by Simon Wincer, Australian director as well. Written by Lee Falk, the original writer of The Phantom, and the screenplay was by Jeffrey Boam, starring, of course, Billy Zane, as we are celebrating You're So Zane, the Billy Zane month here at Bad Movies We Love. Woo. And also Kristy Swanson and Treat Williams, who I feel is magnificent in this film.
What a treat.
What a treat indeed. I kind of forgot how charismatic he is as the villain here.
He is having so much fun in this movie.
He really is. And I feel like he sort of is bigger than the film, but it's not something that he did wrong. It's that like he's operating at one frequency and nobody else has quite dialed it up that far, because I think they were probably unaware of what he was going to be doing. And, you know, the more I read about this movie, the more that I understood like why maybe some of these choices were dialed up, and there was a lot of editing that happened, and there were some things that were removed from the movie that maybe tried to help with the sort of the actioneering and the pacing of the film. Okay. So it could have been a slightly different film. It was never going to be very villain centric, and we're not here to necessarily talk about the villain because we're here to celebrate Billy Zane, who I think does a very good job in this film as well. But yeah, Treat Williams is just so enjoyable to watch in this that I would watch it again just for him and forget about Billy Zane altogether.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those movies, right, where I feel like for a lot of superhero movies, the villains often outshadow the hero. I'm not sure if that's the case in this movie, because I do really like Billy Zane in this movie, especially as the Phantom rather than Kit Walker.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, Treat Williams is definitely larger than life in this movie. He's going at 110%, and he does a lot with not that much in terms of screenplay.
Yeah, I think that's probably what stands out, is that he, just like the way he holds his face or the way he postures himself or some of the slight mannerisms he does or his exuberance in certain scenes, like he really breathes a lot of life into this character that maybe wasn't there on the page. And he actually, despite the one guy wearing a purple jumpsuit, he kind of feels more like the comic book character in some of his portrayal, and I really appreciate that. But you had mentioned the ratings, and that this movie had been maligned by critics at the time that it came out. So we're going to head over to the tail of the tape. Okay. And we've got an IMDb score of 5.1, a meta score of 53, Rotten Tomatoes critic score 43, audience score 31%.
Whoa.
Yeah. Letterboxd 2.6, so a little bit more in line with the other stuff. And then a Google rating of 55%. So that gives us a grand total, Bad Movies We Love total, of 47.5 out of 100, which, I don't know, I think that was better than I was expecting.
It's actually worse than I was expecting, to be honest. Especially the audience score on that Rotten Tomatoes. Like, I thought this movie had more love in the community than that.
Well, I would be curious to go back and see change over time. Like if there was a graph that showed us what the average score was from 1996 to now, to know if that number is higher or lower than it was, because this movie is almost 30 years old. I'm sure it is being found in some reappraisal circles, especially as superhero media has boomed over the last like 10 to 15 years. There's more of a reason to go back and look for some of this stuff, but this was part of early to mid 90s mining of serial comics like Dick Tracy and The Shadow, which I'm also hoping to cover in September, because The Shadow is a whole nother ball game, but also I think it's a good movie to compare this one to for a number of reasons. But yeah, this is a movie that I'm pretty sure I saw in theaters. Okay. And then I was reading that for the theatrical release, some theaters were giving out the metal Phantom ring. It was what was it? It was pewter. And then I started thinking again, wait a second, I had one of those rings. It was just like a little gray rectangular skull. And I was like, no, I definitely got this at the movie theater. Yeah. I don't know if I still have it. It's probably in one of these boxes somewhere. It's possible that I got rid of it, not even remembering that I had gotten it from the Phantom. But I am sad that I don't have it right now.
Yeah. I mean, like, who are you to know that was the fourth skull that controlled the other three skulls of Tagunda? You know?
Yeah. I mean, having seen the movie, you think I would know, but also... that version of myself in 2014 or whatever, when I was first packing everything up, that version of me probably was not thinking I'm going to be talking about the Phantom on a podcast that I haven't even conceived yet. So I got to cut myself a little bit of slack.
Yeah. But that's so of the time, isn't it? Like for movie theaters to be giving away a small pewter ring with I'm guessing it was with like a popcorn and Coke deal or something.
I don't even know. I mean, I guess it's like maybe the posters that they give away now where it's like, here's a piece of paper. Like you gave me a metal ring. It wasn't even plastic.
I know. Oh, wow. You'd never get any of that stuff like these days. Yeah. There'd
No,
be kids
now it's
choking
like
in the theater.
Yeah. Now it's like a popcorn bucket you're supposed to stick your dick in or something, and it's $50.
I'm not sure if you're supposed to stick your dick in there. But, to each his own. However you want to eat the popcorn, man, it's cool.
I mean, I've seen some of those popcorn buckets, and I've seen the conversations online, and
yeah, I can see where the confusion comes from. Yeah. They know what they're doing.
I know. I know the Deadpool and Wolverine one was like Wolverine's mouth. I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
And then, it just sort of became a joke that every popcorn bucket is going to be one of those fleshlights. But we can get away from that because it's disgusting. I want to take a moment to set the table here for people who maybe have never heard of the Phantom or are pushing play on this episode. Like, why are you guys talking about popcorn buckets you can have sex with? So...
Or for the people that have tuned in specifically for popcorn buckets that you can have sex with.
Sadly, the Phantom did not come with a fuckable popcorn bucket that I am aware of. It was a little too ahead of its time. But, okay, early efforts to bring the Phantom to the screen began with Sergio Leone.
Oh, wow.
Who planned to follow it with the Mandrake and the Magician adaptation. Then, in the early 90s, it was Joe Dante that developed this tongue-in-cheek version for Paramount, featuring a battle with a winged demon, but budget issues and creative disagreements led to his exit. He did end up staying on as a producer, though, and then Simon Wincer was ultimately brought on to direct and relocated the production from Hawaii to New York, Thailand, and Australia to cut costs by up to $12 million, and Billy Zane landed the title role after an 18-month physical transformation. The Phantom's costume was designed by Jim Henson's Creature Shop, and filming began in LA in 1995, including Universal's backlot for New York, and Village Roadshow in Australia, where the Pirates Cove set became the largest interior ever built inside the country. So shooting wrapped in February of 96, though several scenes, including a fight with a lion and an entire romantic subplot, were all removed from the final film. To promote its release, the Phantom joined the iconic Got Milk campaign, highlighting the hero's milk drinking habit from the original comic strip. Marketing efforts also included action figures, replica Phantom rings, which we just talked about, and collectible trading cards released in the US, Australia, Finland, and Sweden, and theatrical concessions like popcorn tubs. Maybe there was a fuckable Phantom bucket.
Too soon.
And soda cups featuring the film's poster art. And despite the strong promotion, the Phantom opened in 6th place on June 7th, 1996, and struggled at the box office, much like other period comic adaptations of the era. It only made $17 million against its $45 million budget. However, the film found new life on home video and eventually earned cult status, which is a big part of the reason that we're talking about it today. So I want to know, when was the first time that you saw the Phantom? Because I feel like we're around the same age, so you were probably primed to see this in theaters.
Yeah, I don't think I saw it in theaters. I probably would have seen it on either home release or on TV. But it was one of those films that it did come on TV quite often in Australia, and I must have videotaped one of those showings and just watched it again and again. Yeah, there's one of those movies taped off the TV, watched to death.
Until you got to like manually try to adjust the tracking because it's running so bad.
Yeah, well, I think those videotapes have all turned to dust in my parents' house by now. But but yeah, it was definitely like the same experience that I had with the movies that you mentioned, like The Shadow and Dick Tracy and The Rocketeer. Yeah, it was like right in that pocket of movies that were adapting old-timey comic book. It's funny because I don't think those movies did very well either, but it was like a trend that they just kept trying to push.
Yeah, it must have been something about property rights, because a lot of those stories were developed from the 30s and around 1996. You're at, 60 something years. So it might have been like an intellectual property thing where you can get the rights for cheaper and just have some existing IP where you don't have to work as hard to build something from scratch. But I mean, The Rocketeer, I like all those movies. They're all very different, but I think given a lot of the sameness, to borrow a term from my friend Newman, the MCU kind of got into that, where in order to be part of like a very crowded release schedule, the humor kind of across all the movies had to like fit within certain boundaries. So they all kind of had a sameness to them. And so to look back at something like this, it's a lot closer to something like Batman in that he's got a cave, money. He's kind of got like a butler, but not really a butler. He doesn't have a Batmobile. He's got a horse. He doesn't have Robin. He's got a wolf. But yeah, like definitely. Rich, incognito, New York is involved. A lot of those same elements. And
I kind of likened it to like the Mask of Zorro, I guess, or Zorro in general, which I guess makes sense because Batman is kind of inspired by Zorro. So yeah, rich guy trying to fight crime for not really any reason. I know Batman has a reason, but it's just like they fight crime because they want to fight crime, and they got a bunch of like they don't have powers, but they got money, and that's their power.
Yeah, they're rich and bored, and they don't like yachting.
Yeah. And that's kind of like a staple of this era of comic as well, right? Like Dick Tracy, The Shadow, I guess. They don't really have strong motivations to fight crime. They just do it because that was their character.
Yeah, and so reading about Lee Falk and his designs for the character, he actually borrowed from Zorro in his character design. So interesting that you mentioned that. But also, in the development of this particular story, there's a focus on Drax having control of the police in New York. And in reality, the New York Police Department in the 30s was commended as like the best example, and the active commissioner at the time was like the anti-corruption czar of like the police world.
Okay.
So it's just funny to see that with stories like this, right? With like a Dick Tracy or even The Shadow, Phantom, like they just kind of fight crime because it's the right thing to do. And then you look back like historically at the 30s, where this story is partially set in New York, and even that police department was like, no, we're doing the right thing because it's the right thing to do. So I think that narrative thread of sort of wanting to be good for the sake of being good, wanting to do good for the sake of being good, was a very simple, straightforward kind of translation at the time. And I think even like the early Superman comics were kind of like that as well. And you don't need to bend over backwards to have convoluted hero motives. Like they're just heroes because this is what heroes do. And so it's a very different kind of model, and maybe less humanized, less grounded kind of persona. But it's for the sake of telling this story, like it works.
Yeah, I think so. Like it carries a different charm to the heroes that we have now, because it's like a simpler time, I guess. It carries like a certain level of naivety, I think. And we can kind of see that in Kit Walker's character. And like when I was rewatching this movie, it just felt really quaint and charming compared to recent superhero movies. And I think that's kind of why we can look back at these stories with fondness, is because I guess it does remind us of a simpler time. And it's interesting because these movies were made in the 90s, but they are kind of portraying an era in the 30s, which, you know, I guess it's kind of like the 90s were a simpler time to us looking back at them from now, but also the 30s would have been like a simple time looking back from the 90s, if that makes sense. Yeah. I don't know. It's just, I didn't grow up with like the Richard Donner, Christopher Reeve Superman movies, but I feel like if I had, those movies would carry the same kind of atmosphere as this movie.
No, that's a good point. I think the first Superman especially really does that well. And I think Superman 4 is like 1986. And then Batman's 89, Batman Returns 92. So those movies are all big successes, especially Batman at that time as well. And so you have, like you said, these stories from the 30s being told in the 90s that are trying to give us these old characters and these old archetypes and this stuff of a bygone era, but also having to compete in a space where a Batman exists, right? Because these aren't movies like being made about these characters in the 30s to where we would look back and be like, oh, you know, they didn't have the technology to do this kind of thing. So I think stylistically, the way they look, they do sort of borrow and compete with modern comic book films of that time. But yeah, the heroes are definitely cast and drawn a lot differently. And Billy's portrayal of Kit in this is very soft, because it's like, I think you can draw a straight line comparison to like how Bruce Wayne is portrayed, because they are very similar characters in that way. And like you said, he's almost naive in that he goes to New York and gives a guy a bag full of like priceless gems.
He doesn't know what money is for some reason, even though he studied in New York for a while.
Like he just never
like,
needed money.
What do you mean
just
you won't take my Bengali dollars or whatever he tries to give him?
I guess when he was studying abroad, the ghost of his father just helped him navigate those situations. And he had a rich girlfriend at the time too.
Oh yeah, that would probably help.
Just like, what is currency? And it's like, why do you even have Bengali dollars? You live in the middle of the jungle. What are you spending that on?
That's so true.
But you obviously are aware of what like value is, because you've got a cave full of gold that you have plundered or was gifted to you. So you know that like there's value, right? But you're not carrying gold coins from another country. You're trading in precious gems.
Yeah, maybe he just didn't have time to stop off at the currency exchange place, you know?
Yeah, I think that's probably the best way to excuse it, is that,
Maybe in the 30s, people just took foreign currency. I don't know. I don't know what they're doing in the 30s, to be honest.
Yeah, hey, look at this costume jewelry. You know, one of these is worth your entire yearly salary. So you're my personal cab driver now. Did you prepare a synopsis haiku for us, though?
You know I did.
Great. Do you want to go first?
Sure. All right, here we go. Drax wants laser skulls. A ghost in purple spandex standing in the way.
Yeah, okay. I like that. And Drax, he wants those laser skulls for sure. They didn't do much other than they didn't do much other than shoot lasers once he had them, but
I mean, that's something, isn't it?
It is. I mean, look, I was impressed when I was a kid.
Yeah. They might be, I mean, their nation might be on the cusp of nuclear technology, but, you know, laser skulls are always going to be handy.
And I did find the whole decision to pursue the skulls an interesting one, but we'll circle back to that because I need to do my haiku as well. So, Jungle Cave inspired, a legacy of vengeance, a ghost in purple.
Mm-hmm. Yes, legacy. Is it? This might be one of the earliest examples of a legacy superhero character, I guess.
Yeah, I think it actually is the first. Because I'm trying to think of some others, and I know that they all definitely started significantly later. I know one of the bonus trivia things I have in here is one of the firsts, but I'm not exactly 100% sure.
That's his whole deal. That's his whole deal. Is it? It's a legacy, but people just think he's a ghost because they're living in the 30s where a ghost is more believable than someone training their son to be a superhero.
That is fair. I think the one thing that I would want more of, well, I'll save that part for later, but let's just say he doesn't do a ton of ghostliness. He sort of like lets people's misconceptions just sit there, and then he like punches them in the face.
Yeah, and shoots them. Or shoots the gun out of their hands, at least.
Yeah, dual-wielding guns.
That would be, for me, if I was a guy that looked like Indiana Jones and was trying to steal some skulls from a cave, as soon as the ghost pulls out a gun, I'd be like, this guy's not a ghost. That would be a dead giveaway for me. I feel.
Yeah, because I think like the ghost who walks seems like a good name for, like, if the whole mythology is built around like the jungle and the cave, and it doesn't seem to fit with New York City in the same way, because like you said, the guy pulls out a gun, like this isn't ghost behavior. Like he's not scaring me. He's not appearing out of the shadows. He's
I mean,
not
a gun is
not doing
inherently
ghost
scary, but it's
well, that's fair.
It's scary in a different way.
The gun doesn't say boo,
But yeah, I see what you mean. Like, for a guy whose nickname is Ghost Who Walks, he doesn't do a ton of spooky stuff. He's I think because like the first we're introduced to him, it's in broad daylight, and he just rides out of the jungle on a white horse. And,
subtle.
Like, because even for something like Batman, like he's usually operating at night, right? So he's able to scare people a bit easier. And Batman's costume already looks scarier than the Phantom's costume. It's black, it's bat-like. This guy's wearing like a purple rash guard or something. So I feel like he would operate a lot better at night. But then I don't know, it wouldn't look as good, maybe.
Yeah, probably hard to navigate the jungle at night as well. So he's like, I need the daylight in order to be effective here. But yeah, I think just that knee-jerk reaction is like comparing him to Batman is probably unfair to the Phantom. But yeah, like Batman at least carries like little smoke balls and stuff to like help himself be stealth and create, like, does a better job of creating the illusion that he's more than just a guy in a suit, right?
Yeah.
Where the Phantom is very much just like shows up like, I'm a guy in a suit, but I also have guns.
Yeah.
And just in case that doesn't work, that's my wolf over there.
Yep.
So
also, I have this ring and I'll punch you with.
Yeah, he's going to indent your face with a skull.
I think, like you said, I think the mythology of his character does a lot of the heavy lifting in this story, and probably in Phantom comics of old, it's more like he's in their head already due to his name.
Yeah.
So when he pops out in broad daylight shooting at you, you're like, you have to believe he's a ghost because that's what all the mythology tells you.
Yeah, because I think there's a particular difference between ghost and immortal. Like those two things are kind of conflated a little bit in the description of him, because this idea that he is this thing that like can't be killed, and he's like a spirit guardian of the jungle or something like that. That I think makes sense. But to call him a ghost is like, no, he is dead already. But he's interacting with the world in a way that isn't very ghost-like. But I think it being written as a serial comic that was like in newspapers originally, it might actually have made more sense for it to be a lot of word of mouth, especially because, you know, it was being written in the 30s originally. So it's coming from a place where like all these other forms of communication are not available. So a lot of the rumors about the Phantom would be like oral tradition passed down between criminals, kind of like we do see that a little bit in Batman. Like a lot of the time you'll see some of the henchmen being like, oh, I heard he's a giant bat or like whatever. And so I think that is kind of something that's lost in translation with making this movie in 1996.
Yeah, that's true. I think like for this movie, the Phantom has already been established, I guess. So you don't like they really breeze through his origin story in this movie. Whereas in most Batman movies, at least the first movie in their series, they do go through the origin. He's kind of establishing a name for himself. So he does have to be particularly scary. Whereas Kid Walker, I'm sure he didn't put in any legwork to be scary. He's just been riding off the name alone and the legacy.
Yeah, and I mean, in fairness, he really didn't have to do anything to become the Phantom either, other than be born to the previous Phantom. So,
but he's ripped as hell. He probably didn't need to be ripped as hell.
Yeah, he went to the gym a lot. He's doing a lot of cave push-ups or whatever he's doing out there, beach running.
Yep.
I don't know, but
jungle CrossFit.
Yeah, we do see some like jungle gymnastics actually. Very conveniently placed stable branch for him to leap off of.
I like how James Remar's character is like, I already killed the Phantom, and it's like, yeah, but it's a guy in a mask. Like you could have killed anybody, really.
Fair, and
I also wonder, like, I know James Remar's character killed Kit Walker's dad.
Yes.
But then, like, later, Kabai Sang also mentions that he killed a Phantom. So I'm, like, wondering which Phantom did he kill?
Yeah, how old is Kabai Sang?
Yeah, I mean, it's weird that, like, the Phantom himself doesn't really have any powers because the world that he lives in does display, like, supernatural tendencies. You know, we've got, like, the skulls of Tuganda and I think at the start of the movie, there's like a bit where a skeleton strangles a man. So
booby trap.
Yeah, was it a booby trap or was it a
I mean, he did strangle him to death.
Yeah. So I don't know. There's a bit of mysticism in this world, but the Phantom himself doesn't have any like magic powers, except for his skull ring, I guess.
Well, that is fair. He does have the magic ring, but also he talks to his ghost father the entire movie. His dad is the ghost who walks. And so, like, there is part of me that's wondering, okay, this movie hangs its hat on mysticism, like you said. I think because it's set in the 30s, there's a little bit more flexibility with the characters really wanting to believe in this kind of stuff and not having enough science, jammed down their throat for another 70 years to be as cynical as a lot of people now. So to have a guy who like realistically has no powers, but he's got the magic ring, but then there's magic skulls, but then Ghost Dad is constantly there and seemingly having like full-on actualized conversations, not merely reflections of Kit, right? Like he has a conversation with him about what happened with James Remar's character. Yeah. And he describes it in detail. So this is something that like Kit didn't know that his ghost dad is enforcing. So at the very least, he can commune with the ghost of the previous Phantom, which has its benefits.
Yeah. He can give him dating advice.
He can. His dad's like, man, I've been waiting for you to get laid, son.
Yeah. Also, the dad, he, you see like a shot of his tombstone later down the line, and it indicates that he died when he was 60 years old. So he was being the Phantom all the way up to he was 60. Like that's incredible.
Yeah.
And he only died because he got betrayed as well. It's not like he was bested. He got stabbed in the back.
Yeah.
Like that could have happened to anyone.
Yeah. Well, he was lonely, and obviously he admits I was not a great judge of character because he just wanted a friend, you know, and got stabbed. So
I mean, James Remar's very charismatic.
He is, yeah, and he's actually really good in this movie as well. Before I forget, though, I didn't want to get too far removed from it because we talked about Kebai Sang, and he's an interesting villain as well in that he's a descendant of what I think he says, like the evil Sang.
Yep.
So like he knows full well that he's evil, and he's not hiding it. But it was interesting that story of the Sang Brotherhood is one of several stories that got folded in to make the movie, but it's also a legacy character where the mantle of leadership is passed down from generation to generation. I feel like there was a lot to explore there between him and the Phantom that didn't necessarily need Drax involved, but you know, it is what it is. But I feel like sort of the dark mirror of like another person who's also sort of just passed down the evil legacy that they have to live up to.
It's funny because
really getting to break the mold.
Yeah, they don't really have any personal beef against each other, the Phantom and Kebai Sang. They're just kind of doing the job that was passed down onto them, and it just happens that their jobs are at odds with each other.
Yeah. I think it's just an interesting angle that doesn't really get like touched on in the story at all.
A lot of this is kind of a product of the era of storytelling at the time. Like the story doesn't really make sense, and there's a lot of things that are just kind of like put there for simplicity's sake, I guess. Like even Drax's motivation, it's not super strong. I feel like he's just there because he's excited to learn about the skulls sometimes, but also he's kind of got vague notions of getting the ultimate power to, I don't know, get a leg up in the industry. I don't really know what his motivations are.
These laser skulls are going to make me rich.
Yeah, but he's also super excited to try and get them, which I love, by the way. I love how excited he is. But you know what I mean? Like, it's kind of like in this era of storytelling, maybe more so the 30s than the 90s, it wasn't really important what the characters' motivations were. It wasn't really important like what their origins were or what their powers were, I guess, because this kind of stuff can change on the fly. Like I'm pretty sure the Shadow, when he initially debuted in serials, he was just a guy with a gun, but then like they gave him all this mystical powers because it was more out of convenience than anything, because like they didn't want to have to keep writing that, you know, he was using smoke bombs and sneaking in stealthily. Let's just give him powers and say he's invisible, you know? So I think the Phantom is kind of like that as well. It's like, yeah, kind of have to look at it through the lens of these things, these details didn't really matter at the time he was conceived and the time that he was popular. But I guess when you're bringing that into the 90s, where you've got heroes like Batman, which are they make more sense, I guess, in the world that they live in. And more effort is put towards explaining why he can do what he does and why he does what he does as well. Like he's got stronger motivations than the Phantom. So I can kind of see why this movie did fail at the time that it was released, because yeah, it's honoring a storytelling tradition that is quite outdated in a time period where people are kind of looking for more detail and maybe newer ideas.
Yeah, and I think if we even look back at the 90s and then like you look at something like Batman Returns, where like sure the Penguin was like a complicated villain, but very clearly a villain regardless at the end of the day. Max Schreck in that movie, very clearly a villain at the end of the day. The end of the Superman run, it's like he's a nuclear bomb monster basically. So yeah, he's the villain, but then we look at some of our villains today, and you've got someone like Thanos who sort of has a point in what he's saying. He's just kind of like going about it in a way that the heroes don't like. So the writing for villains has changed quite a bit, where it's not just like they're evil because they're evil. Like, people want and kind of need to understand why bad people do bad things. And I think that's been something culturally that has grown, not just in superhero stuff, but just in world stuff in general. I think there was a lot of passing off of this person is bad because they're bad, rather than trying to understand the bad actions and the motivations and learning about it, you know. So that entire arc of like the hero villain arc has changed quite a bit.
Yeah, definitely. There's a lot that's changed from when this movie came out to like superhero movies in general that are coming out today. I think like even costuming wise, to be fair, I think the Phantom costume in this movie is pretty good. Like, I think it holds up for the most part. I think maybe even more so than the old Batman costumes, because I don't know, there's something less sculpted about it. Maybe it's just because Billy Zane fits really well in it. I think that's what's fooling me, because it is a very silly looking costume at the end of the day, but like, it's so true to the original design of the Phantom. And you know, with what they had to work with, I think this is a really good interpretation of the Phantom costume.
That's a good point, and I was going to save this for trivia later, but because you brought it up now, so Billy Zane worked out really hard to get in the kind of shape that he was in for this movie. And the original suit design that was designed had like the fake muscles built in to make him look bigger. But then after he showed up and was in the kind of shape that he was in, they're like, no, we're just going to go with traditional spandex.
No, it's like the Rock Shazam situation.
He didn't have what does the Rock call his mobile gym, like Iron Heaven or something like that?
That sounds about right. Sure.
Yeah. So yeah, like he put in the work. The suit looked good on him. It's like a Reeves' original Superman, where something got lost between, like, Superman doesn't have to have muscles. He's Superman. It doesn't matter, like, if he's buff, right? And then by the time Man of Steel comes around, like, we get the gratuitous burning shirtless scene of Henry Cavill getting to see all his muscles, and it's like, I'm glad that Henry worked hard and, like, you know, busted his ass to look like that.
Yeah.
But the identity of Superman doesn't even require muscles. Like, he's an alien who gets his strength from the sun, not from going to the gym.
I mean, to be fair, he is often drawn quite muscular. So
he is, yeah.
But yeah, like, I think it's strange because Batman is also drawn very muscularly, and his suit in the comics at that time, generally it wasn't like an armored situation. But I guess by the time they got to the point where they're making Michael Keaton's Batman movies, it was probably an era of cinema where you didn't need to get ripped for this kind of movie. I think The Shadow illustrates that quite well. Alec Baldwin is not getting ripped for that movie.
They're like, actually, let's put a trench coat and a scarf on top of him as well.
Yeah.
To make sure we don't see any of his muscles.
I feel like he's got a shirtless scene at the start of the movie where he's wearing like big genie pants, and he's just like, he's just got his chest hair hanging out, like he's I don't know.
And in full fairness to Alec Baldwin, he was probably in really good shape, probably better shape than I'm in right now.
Sure.
When filming that, and he was just like a normal man in normal human good shape, and not crazy, because like even Billy Zane, like, he's bulky in this, but he's not like super defined. Like he was getting big and getting strong and adding muscle, but he wasn't like obsessing about glamour muscles, right? I saw like one of the previews or featurettes for Jurassic World, when it started filming, I think the most recent one, was like one of the cast members like lifting weights, and it was like, what is it? Is he gonna punch a dinosaur in the face? Like, what is he even lifting weights for? This is not relevant.
Yeah.
So, you know, that kind of stuff just
if
was
they're
not
paying
present.
for your gym membership, why not do
That's
it? I
fair.
guess. Like, there's nothing wrong
Give
with
me the
getting
personal
healthy.
trainer.
Yeah, but
no, there's not.
You're right. Like in this era, you didn't need to go to the lengths that Billy Zane did, but I appreciate that he did because, you know, he looks very comic accurate. And I don't think he would have if they gave him like an armored or padded suit.
That is a good point. I mean, it might have benefited him to have armor because he does get in a lot of gunfights, but
He gets stabbed right at the start of the movie.
and there you go. Like,
It's just
he's got to be a little bit more careful.
It's just purple spandex, isn't it? There's no protection whatsoever. Like even just being out in the jungle, I feel like you should be wearing something more appropriate. but if you're fighting
he's got the
crime in
footwear
jungle-
at least.
Yeah, he's got boots. He's got boots.
Yeah.
That's true.
Okay, well, we've chatted a little bit about sort of the good and the bad of this movie, but if you have to speculate as to why the movie is widely considered to be a bad movie, what are you going to hang your hat on?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, it's very of the time, I guess, and it is also honoring a tradition that is outdated. So, and it's also in a pocket of cinema where, like, we were getting a lot of this kind of story. It's like right at the kind of tail end of that era. Like, I think The Mask came out 2 years before that. Dick Tracy, I'm guessing, wasn't that well received. The Shadow as well wasn't that well received. So this has probably been kind of lumped into that genre, that kind of movie where it's like it's come out, but it's not great. Even what's it called? Cutthroat Island came out before this movie, and that bombed as well, right? Like, I think people were just getting tired of this kind of movie, and you really needed to be like a good movie to kind of elevate yourself above them. Like, I think The Mummy is an example of where this kind of movie works really well and becomes timeless. I wouldn't call this a timeless movie. I would say that I'm looking back at this with a lot of nostalgia. And even then, I can see it's quite flawed.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely put my purple tinted goggles on to rewatch this.
Yeah.
And like, it is fun, but I feel like it also kind of mainly suffers from being kind of generic. And I think that's what you're talking about, and part of the reason that it doesn't succeed in maybe the way that it would is because, like, if you take him out of the purple suit and he's just like a guy doing the exact same thing, like, yeah, there's a lot of sort of like swashbuckling adventure movies, and it doesn't necessarily lean into, I think, the most interesting specifics of what makes the Phantom. Like, we meet Kit, and Kit is the 21st Phantom. And so, like, yeah, we kind of know that his dad died, and like we get a little brief preamble as to like what happened and why he's the Phantom, and there's like a little sprinkling of his backstory with Diana, and there's just like there's not enough unique stuff that happens here. It's like, yeah, there's gunfights in other movies, there's adventures in other movies, there's punching, and you know, there's some cool set piecing, but other than the purple suit, I don't know that it really distinguishes itself even as like a comic book sort of film of this era. Like, Dick Tracy's far more colorful. I think something like The Rocketeer, which I don't have it in me to look at the ratings because like my heart can't take it if that's considered
I think it's
a bad
more
movie.
loved than this movie.
Okay, good. Whew. Hope so. I hope so. But yeah, like The Rocketeer sort of like has more iconic imagery and characterization of Cliff Secord than this does for Kit. And I think that just sort of does a disservice to the movie overall. But knowing how many people were involved and what happened with the writing, and that like Joe Dante's original script was very different than the one that we got, and some of the shooting of the film sort of moved around the comedic elements, but then left the comedy in there without knowing that it was comedy. So it just kind of like little bit bumpy rather than sort of like, oh, this is leading towards a comedic moment. And then it's just flat because none of the buildup was there. And so I think there's probably like a better vision of this movie that exists even with the footage that was made of this. But, you know, speaking of footage, we'll go back now and we'll take a look at the trailer and we will see exactly what was going on back in 1996 when they tried to sell this to our adolescent.
I'm interested to see how this movie was sold. Yeah.
Me too. It has been a while. I don't recall if I have actually seen this trailer or not. So it's going to be probably a first time for me. This trailer rewind is brought to you by the all-new special 30th anniversary Phantom Popcorn Bucket. It seems like every major theatrical release gets some kind of collectible tie-in and sexually suggestive popcorn bucket these days, but only one has the spirit of adventure. Introducing the special 30th anniversary Phantom Popcorn Bucket, an exclusive pre-order for Bad Movies We Love listeners. This isn't just a container, it's an experience. Anatomically correct and draped in purple spandex with a not-so-surprisingly intimate opening, the Phantom Popcorn Bucket isn't just for snacks, it's for companionship. So load it up with popcorn, candy, or whatever you're into. Help celebrate the 30th anniversary of the Phantom a year early with this pre-order exclusive. Supplies are limited, dignity is optional. And now, back to the show. It's like superheroes, I'm there.
Just take a look around. Darkness rules the earth.
In a dangerous world.
Governments crumble. Chaos reigns.
In a treacherous time.
There is opportunity in chaos.
Evil is a fact.
We shall succeed where they have failed.
Drax is on a quest for a supernatural power. They know far too much.
And courage.
Stop them.
Yeah.
You're the only one who can.
Is a phantom.
Oh, that's great imagery. Where was that in the movie?
Yeah, we're at the throne room indeed.
Who was that guy? Somebody I already killed.
I don't think the title cards are necessary, but...
There's a lot of practical stunts in this,
There are some who say he is only
It earns its action, that's for sure.
Soon they will discover the Phantom is real.
Oh, it's gonna be everywhere.
Yeah, it's good. It's nice and pulpy.
It's very pulpy, but even that sort of doesn't distinguish itself too much from other kind of like action adventure movies. And like, granted, like this is an action adventure story. I think the biggest selling points are probably like the location shooting, which we sort of only get glimpses of. The appeal would be, granted, this is, 50 plus years after the serial comic debuted, although it was Lee Falk was still writing it into the 90s until he died, so it was still ongoing.
Yeah.
But this is not a Batman Superman-esque property where sort of the teasing of the legend of the Phantom is going to mean much to anybody.
Yeah.
Right?
I'm pretty sure it didn't mean much to me. Although, like, for some reason, the Phantom comic strip was pretty popular in Australia.
It was.
I think, I don't know, it's got something to do with the art, like its publication moving to Australia at some point, but it was just kind of shown to us a lot. I remember in Melbourne, where I grew up, there were two main newspapers. There was The Age and the Herald Sun. And my dad would always get a copy of each one of those because he was a teacher, and he'd bring it home. And the first thing I'd look for is the Garfield comic strip in the Herald Sun. But the second thing that I look for is the Phantom comic strip in the Age. So I don't know. For a long time, I just thought the Phantom was Australian for some reason. So when this movie came out, I was like, oh, I kind of know what the Phantom is, but I didn't really have a strong idea of what he was all about.
Well, the director, I think, confirms that, and that he said that he had grown up knowing about the Phantom, and that it was like the most popular comic in Australia when he was young. So there was, at least with the filmmaker, like he had familiarity with the character, but his story getting connected to this is interesting because he obviously wasn't the first choice. He wasn't he was more of a TV guy, but he did have some movies under his belt at that point. And then as things got kicked around, he eventually was the one to do it on a very kind of tight schedule and budget. But he said in an interview, I think it was actually part of the How Did This Get Made interview he did. He said, anyway, the reason why they offered me the film was they need it in a hurry because they were doing a movie called The Saint with Val Kilmer.
Okay.
And for some reason or another, the film had to be delayed by 6 months. And so they needed a film for that slot. How about the Phantom? So they offered it to me. So I literally went to Paramount on the way to LAX on my way to London for Operation Dumbo Drop, which is another film he made, to meet with Sherry and John. And they said, we'd love you to do the film. That's the good news. The bad news is we want it for next June. So all of this was like, hey, you need to cut production costs. You need to do this in 6 months. And so not even getting to make a story that he has some admiration for and has some familiarity with, studio mandates well, this is all the time that you're going to get. So use it well.
Wow. I mean, considering all that, I think they did a really good job with it. I think, as far as I know, it does kind of honor the characters' traditions. It brings in some of the original plot lines, I guess, and kind of mashes them together. You've got Kabai Seng. You've also got Catherine Zeta-Jones's character. I think she leads a band of all-female sky pirates of some kind. Pretty sure that's an original comic thing.
Yeah, sounds right.
Yeah, Kid Walker and Diana Palmer. They're in there. So I feel like he's got to be happy with the results of this movie, although probably not ideal. I think it's a very good attempt. And Billy Zane being passionate about the character, I think, helps a lot. I feel like his performance is quite good in this movie.
Yeah, I had read that he had first been given some of the Phantom comics to read when he was doing Dead Calm in Australia in 1989. And so reading some more of that interview, Billy was attached to the Phantom before Simon Wincer ever got involved. But he did have Wincer, that was. He had a good time making the film, and he was like, yeah, it was fun, we got to do the location thing, and it was a good experience despite the fact that, the movie didn't do well. But before we get to bonus trivia, we should probably do some actual trivia.
Okay.
Time for trivia.
All right. So let's see. Question number 1 on that trivia. The Palmer Mansion in this film was filmed at what or which real life mansion? Really testing my knowledge of real life mansions here. That's right. It's a very famous mansion, though.
Is it the Billy Madison household by any chance?
I don't know. I'd have to look at Billy Madison, but it is the Playboy Mansion.
Ah, okay, yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's era appropriate, isn't it?
Yeah, one of the few mansions I know just by name.
Nice of Hugh to give that up for an evening to film.
Right, I know. Hugh, you gotta let us in here for one night.
We're filming The Phantom, Hugh. Get out of the way. Get your floozies and go to the grotto for a bit.
Don't have to tell me twice. Okay, so
R.I.P.
question 2. While the film is set in 1939, the comic itself was started in what year?
I want to say 1936.
Correct. So that was 2 years before Superman, making the Phantom the first superhero that was created for comics. And I didn't write it down, but one of the other tidbits did say that it was the first like legacy superhero like that.
Yeah,
So
yeah. The Phantom walked so Superman could fly, I guess.
yeah, there you go. I like that. You like that, Superman? Without this guy and his striped underoos, which didn't even make the movie, you would not have your own comic.
I know, that's cowardly, isn't it? Like they gave Chris Reeve the red undies. Give the Phantom his striped undies.
Yeah, they tried it and they're like, no, we can't do this. We're trying to be taken partially seriously. I think Joe Dante, had he still been in charge, might have accepted the striped panties, but
that was their mistake, trying to be taken too seriously. I don't think that's what this movie is all about.
No, the original vision for it was a lot campier, and I would be curious to see that as like an actual idea, but yeah, this one is sort of like caught in the middle, where it does have some like sort of goofy naivety to it, but wants to also be sort of like a serious, near Batman type of story, but
sometimes that can work. Like The Mask of Zorro kind of treads that line really well. There's some really upsetting and dark elements to that story, but it is quite lighthearted at the same time.
Is that the one with Hopkins?
Yes.
Anthony Hopkins,
Antonio Banderas. Like that's a great movie. And much more love than this movie. I don't know. I don't know what it is. I think maybe it's just good writing, or like the charisma of the cast meshing a bit better.
Yeah, it probably goes down to character writing and motivations and all that. And, you know, I think if everybody were doing what Treat Williams is doing, I mean, I feel like even Catherine Zeta-Jones is giving a solid performance. Kristy Swanson is good. Billy, I think, is stuck between not having like enough Kit Walker to balance out the lack of enough Phantom, if that makes sense. Like with the Superman story, like we get alter ego. Like even with Spider-Man, we get a lot of Peter Parker, right?
Yeah.
In this, it's like Kit Walker is almost an afterthought. Like he's only there because he can't be in disguise at the moment, right? Like he's the kind of character is like if he could go everywhere as the Phantom, he would.
Yeah.
He doesn't really seem to have any interest in being Kit Walker. He just like, no, I'm the Phantom all the time, if possible, please.
That's right. Yeah, that's why he doesn't carry around U.S. currency. It's not top of mind for him. Yeah,
it's not.
Again, I think it's like it's a product of that era where, because his identity is never really in question as well. Like it's so obvious that he's the Phantom at all times, and it gets to the point where at the end where Diana kind of reveals that she knows his identity and he looks surprised. I'm like, why are you surprised? It's like, it's very obvious, you know?
You dated this woman. You think she doesn't know your face because of the little raccoon thing you're wearing?
Yeah.
Sir, has nobody told him that this disguise is completely irrelevant?
And yeah, again, that's kind of like, you know, it's the same thing of like, why do people believe this guy is a ghost even though he's wearing purple spandex and shooting at you? It's just that level of naivety / incredulity or credulity, I guess, of the characters in this film where, you know, they just believe whatever the story needs them to believe, I guess.
Yeah, until it's convenient for me. Like, I never believed any of that. To begin with, you can take off your mask now. It's okay, Kit.
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness. Okay, well, I guess I will. You got me. All right, question number 3. Which 2 other actors were being actually considered for the lead role of the Phantom?
I know one of these because I think Sam Raimi was originally tapped to direct, so obviously
Correct.
Bruce Campbell was
That's right.
was his choice. Who could the second one be? Not sure if this is the answer, but I know at some point Sam Worthington was considered for a Phantom movie, but probably not this Phantom movie.
He probably was like 10 years old at the time.
I think before
he
his
was
time.
coming out. Yeah, definitely. But because of that tidbit, I'll give you you brought your own trivia, so I'll give you the bonus point. Anyway, the actor in question was New Zealand actor Kevin Smith, not the Kevin Smith that we know.
Okay.
And
that would have been a different movie.
Yes, very different movie. But this Kevin Smith was actually best known for, I think he played Ares on either Xena or Hercules or both.
Yeah, I know this guy. I know. I love Hercules, the legendary adventures of.
Exactly.
He passed away in 2002. R.I.P.
Yeah. Sorry, buddy. So yeah, that would have been a very different direction, but like Billy, I guess, just put in the work and he was dedicated to it. So he got the role. And one of the things that Wincer was saying was that like Billy was attached before he was, and they asked him in that interview like how Zane was to work with, and what he said was, "Oh, Billy? He was okay. He was okay. He was very into his body image and all that stuff, which I guess was right for the character. And it used to drive us all crazy, but his heart was in the right place. Occasionally, he would pump up before a take, and it used to drive Patrick McGoohan crazy."
Okay. Yeah, I can't see Patrick McGoohan having time for that.
Hold on. I got to hit one more set so my muscles look good.
Doing push-ups.
And it's funny because he's running lines, doing push-ups. One of the other things that I saw multiple times listed was that he used to run out and like get sushi while he was still in the full Phantom costume.
Yeah, right.
So, I mean, it's a weird thing to do. Like, I'm sure there's craft services on set. Like, is he really just like, hey guys, hold on. I need to load up here because I got to get this pump in. I'm going to go run over and get some sushi. But his commitment to the role, I think, was probably not in question because he also shaved his head to be able to wear the cowl for this movie. And so
did he though? Like, I feel like he could have worn.
Or was he just already bald?
Yeah, I mean, like, he looks great with a bald head, by the way. Like that. He
does.
As a bald guy myself, those are bald goals right there. But I don't buy the idea of him having to shave his head to fit in this cowl. Like, you could put some hair under there, and I'm pretty sure they do put some hair, like at least a wig under there when in the scene where he takes the cowl off.
Well, the rumor was that they had to shoot it separately and in reverse order, but yeah, I'm pretty sure
I call bullshit on that, right? Yeah. It's okay, Billy, you don't need to make up stories.
Oh, you guys need me to shave my head? No, Billy, it's fine. It's like you just hear bzzz. It's already doing it. Yeah. Billy, you don't got to. But Billy Zane like actually really likes this movie and this character. I've seen it referenced that it's his favorite role. I don't know if that's true, but he did say that it's one of his favorite characters, and he said it got a lot of stick early on because it wasn't edgy at the time when all those movies were going dark. He said, I've always held a torch for what I saw as a dying genre, which was adventure. I was raised on adventure, and I think it's so easily overlooked as how critical it is to young boys and girls. So he really, believed in the identity of the story. And I guess I wanted to ask you, like, does it feel like an adventure film? I feel like it has like some adventure staples to it, but I don't know, because it's like they don't go on an adventure like he kind of does, but everybody else kind of like just gets kidnapped.
Well, I think the adventure elements are there. I think an issue with this movie is that it's kind of walking in two spaces. On the one hand, you've got like the comic elements of the superhero genre. On the other hand, you've got the adventure swashbuckling elements of that kind of movie. And they don't really nail either of them that well. But I think for me, because I grew up on like adventure movies as well. Like I love fucking the Indiana Jones movies. The Mummy still remains in my top 4,
nice.
So those, I think that's why this movie really resonates with me, is because it does kind of bring that same vibe of an adventure films like Indiana Jones, like the truck thing at the start of the movie. That's basically taken straight out of Raiders of the Lost Ark and Temple of Doom. They've just mashed the two stunts together, you know. And that's kind of what this movie is. It's like replicating these kinds of movies, but not to the same like success as the good versions of these movies.
Yeah, and I think that's why my biggest like detraction, or why I would think that people didn't like it, was I was like, yeah, it didn't feel enough like itself in its big stunts, right? Like it all just sort of felt like it's Indiana Jones, except for he's wearing a purple costume this time. And so in the moments where it really gives some personality to the characters that make the movie different, like you said, the throne room scene that's in the trailer, we don't get that, but it looks awesome. And we should have gotten that. There should have been a reason for that. But
he looks so much more scary in the trailer than he does in the actual film.
Well, because the movie starts kind of with like a cold open where the robbery is happening and the Phantom is coming to interfere. But because the way that the movie is sequenced, or at least the way that it was edited, is it's meant to sort of tease the reveal of the character along the way until we like see him burst out on the horse, right? Like he raises his eyes and we see that. But to cut to the wide shot of him in the throne room, like being backlit like that, like you burn your reveal before you get to the moment where it happens in broad daylight. And so it's a little bit of sort of imbalance in, again, the identity of the character being this ghost or this guy that's coming from like a dark cave room, and then a dude who rides a very noticeable horse and rides around with the wolf, like not inconspicuous at all.
It's so bright as well. Like they could have darkened it a bit, because the jungle can be quite dark. It doesn't have to be so well lit.
Not this jungle.
It's so bizarre just seeing him rock up on his white horse with his purple costume, and all three of the bad guys are just panicking. It's so funny.
Well, because I feel like, you want this big reveal moment of the hero on the horse with the wolf. Like, oh, we finally see him. But I think what makes the Phantom sort of an interesting adversary in that environment is that he knows the jungle. He knows how to use the camouflage.
He knows like where the parallel bar is that he can flip up into the trees.
Exactly. He placed that thing there and he wants to make sure that he gets to jump off of it. But so like there isn't enough of him sort of doing stealthy stuff. It's just like dun 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 dun, and he bursts out into the daylight. And okay, that's him. So the reveal just comes in a way that isn't rewarding enough. And I think if we teased it with like the scary guy in the cave, then it's like we don't know is he gonna like just kill these guys? Like what does the Phantom actually do? But I don't even think the wolf bites anybody, does he? He just kind of like rides along.
Yeah, no, he like pounces on a couple of people, and again, it's the mystique that's doing a lot of the heavy lifting. But yeah, I think you're absolutely right. Like the opening sequence should have just been a sequence of the Phantom just disappearing bad guys, and you don't really see him until there's only James Remar left, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, if you're gonna rip off Batman, just rip off Batman. Just do it. It's like you don't need shadows. He's got jungle foliage, right? Yeah, it's his environment. But I think that burned through most of the bonus trivia, except for I think a couple pieces that I found that were interesting were that there was a planned version of the Phantom movie that was going to be made in Mexico and be like super cheap, and Adam West was attached to that. So
okay,
clearly understanding like the Batman connection, at least with that production, didn't end up happening, rights issues, etc. And then in the 80s and 90s, they were planning it again, and Dolph Lundgren was being considered. And I was like, oh, Dolph actually probably would have been a very good Phantom, like in the suit, because he's huge and muscular.
Again, not exactly stealthy, is he?
No, 6'4" Swede living in the Bengala jungle. I mean, that's another thing. You just see like trees falling in the distance. You're like, oh my God, it's the Phantom.
Yeah, that would be terrifying, actually.
It's a kaiju movie, except for it's the Phantom. Okay, well, let's go over to the bonus wheel and spin it. You got 3, and I'm going to give you one for free because it's a question that I just added to the wheel, and I think this movie made me think of it. So that's why I wanted to put it on there. Cool. And that question is, if you could cross this movie over with another movie, which movie would you want to choose?
Ooh. You know what? That it reminded me actually of Indiana Jones a lot, especially in the opening sequence. And you kind of drew parallels between the Phantom and Indiana Jones, but I feel like Indiana Jones is more the James Remar character. So
yes,
I would like to see a movie where Indiana Jones crosses paths with the Phantom, but Indy is portrayed as the villain that's doing the grave robbery, and the Phantom is just trying to protect, the treasures of the jungle or whatever. Or even like maybe Indy's stealing something for a criminal that he doesn't know is a criminal, like he always does, Then
it's a team up.
Yeah, then it becomes a team up in the end, Because I feel like there's a lot of potential for crossover, and because Indiana Jones was kind of inspired by the pulp heroes of the 30s as well. So the Phantom is technically an older character, but this iteration of the Phantom is younger than the Indiana Jones movies. So
yeah, and Indiana Jones fights Nazis, and this movie has at least one image of like a newspaper or something saying that the war is broken out in Europe. So this is like on the cusp of the United States really getting involved with World War II. And so that leads me into another question is, do you think Drax is a Nazi? Because I feel like behaviorally, he kind of lines up with the evil Nazis that we see kind of from Indiana Jones. He's also seeking mystical stuff, which there was a lot of like fringe science that the Nazis were seeking out. And of course, in Indiana Jones, it's like they're tracking down the Ark of the Covenant. So that's kind of where I was looking. I'm like, okay, well, there clearly seems to be this idea that, at least in the 30s, that people were really into like the occult and the belief in like these things that had superpowers. And it seems like a lot of those character specifics line up with what we saw of Nazis in other films. I think even in what was the one, Overlord, the Nazis are doing like very experimental science and turning people into like werewolves or something like that.
Yeah.
So that has been used throughout stories, and it just made me think. I was like, well, I wouldn't be surprised, honestly, if Drax was a Nazi.
Yeah, I mean, it if the shoe fits. I think, again, his motivations are so vague, and even like what is his job even? You know what I mean? He's just like a rich guy that's looking for the skulls for unlimited power, but to what end? You don't really know. He does control the police, but like, why do they follow him? He also controls the gangsters, but why do they follow him? I guess if they don't follow him, he chucks a spear at them. So there's that. But yeah, I think it's interesting because he is that kind of Nazi archetype that is portrayed in a lot of that kind of fiction, which I think is probably inspired by, like, I don't know, Adolf Hitler had some weird hobbies, right? Among other things. But it's interesting that he's a New Yorker as well, right? Like,
yeah,
he's pretty American in his portrayal. So it
for sure.
I don't know whether it's intentional, probably not, but it feels like the movie is almost saying, there are weirdos on both sides.
Well, I'm glad you picked Indiana Jones as the crossover movie, because that's sort of where my brain was going with it when I initially formed the question. I was like, I would like to see Indiana Jones run into the Phantom while he's robbing a temple and be like, oops, maybe I'm not on the right side here. But the more we talked about the situation, I was already sort of mulling this one over in my head, and the crossover that I want to see that will, like, it doesn't fit, but I want to see the Phantom crossover with Uncut Gems and have Adam Sandler obsessed with all of the prized gems that Kit Walker has.
Yeah. I mean, like, Kit Walker's got 2 guns with which to shoot Adam Sandler in the head with. So I guess that fits. Although he doesn't shoot anybody in this movie, in fairness. He shoots guns out of hands, but he doesn't actually wound anyone with his guns, which I think is a carryover from the comics. I think Lee Falk was very staunchly against him actually inflicting harm with his guns.
Interesting. And yet you design him with not 1, but 2 pistols, both of which in the comic are different. One's a revolver and one is that like 1911 that he has. But
okay.
Yeah, he's an expert marksman with both, and he just uses them to shoot other people's guns.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, he's not a very practical hero. Okay.
He's not.
He's got a laser skull ring that he doesn't use at all, except to deflect other laser skulls.
Yeah, didn't actually know what it did until the movie called for him to know exactly what it did, and then it worked. All right, well, let's go to the first official question that we're going to pull off of the wheel, and this is, if you could ask a character from this film a question, who is it going to be, and what is the question?
I would like to ask Drax how much use he gets out of the microscope knife thing that he has. Like, what inspired the initial purchase or construction of that device, and how many times has he used it?
Yeah. And
what happens after he's used it?
How many eyes have you knifed with that thing? And yeah, what happened to the guy? He's blind now?
Is he blind? Is he dead? Like, what? Yeah, I don't know. It's
the blades weren't that long. I don't think he's dead.
Yeah, right? So you'd have, after you've used it, you just have this screaming man in your office who's just bleeding from his eye sockets. Like, what is that for? And how many times has he gotten, like, to use it, Because it doesn't function as a regular microscope either.
It kind of does until you tighten it like 1 notch too far.
Yeah.
As soon as you can read the word, you get your eyes poked out.
Yeah, you have to adjust it to the point where it's slightly off focus.
Yeah.
But no further
but it's
than
like,
that.
It is a very villainous contraption, though. And I love it for him because it is so very specific and it is kind of impractical. Like, this guy is a banker or something, and you're like, hey, I need your opinion on this thing under the microscope.
Yeah. And it makes sense when you're asking like a librarian to have a look. But what if his enemy was just like some blue collar guy? Like, what is he going to do? Like, I need your opinion on this thing under the microscope. And they'd be like, why are you asking me? I'm just a construction worker in charge of the unions. Like, I don't know what to look at that. So it only works on a very particular person that he wants to blind.
Yeah, maybe he had it specifically designed for this guy.
Yeah.
And that's just the backstory that we didn't get.
Yeah, maybe.
So, okay. Well, moving on. Which minor character deserves a spinoff? And what would that spinoff be about?
Oh, I mean, it's definitely Catherine Zeta-Jones's character, right? Like, she is the most interesting out of the secondary characters, I find. There's a lot left unsaid about her whole situation.
Mystery goes a long way.
Yeah, she leads like a group of all female like pilots. Like, what do they do regularly? I'm sure this is fleshed out in the comics as well. But yeah, it's just a very interesting aesthetic that she's chosen as well. Either that or Kabai Seng. I think seeing Kabai Seng's backstory would be really cool.
Yeah, I think so too. I think more of the rivalry with him and the Phantom specifically and like fleshing that out a little bit would be pretty entertaining. But we go to the last question on the wheel. If you could insert a surprise musical number into this film, what scene are you choosing to do it in?
All right. I think where it would most fit, I mean, aside from the from doing New York when Kit Walker arrives in New York City with his bright-eyed and bushy-tailed demeanor. Aside from that, I feel like the scene where Drax has acquired the 3 skulls. And
in the museum, or no, the third one comes later in the movie.
Yeah, in the pirate cave or whatever.
Laser eyes.
And then the laser comes out, and then Kit figures out that his skull is the 4th skull, and they have like the Dragon Ball-esque laser battle against each other.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like that's a great opportunity to play the song "Smooth Criminal." You know?
I know, he hits that Michael Jackson lean
so
perfectly.
Good.
It's one of the images from this movie that I remember most was him leaning in and just going, unbelievable.
It's so good. He's having so much fun, even
he is
like his death scream is a laugh. He laughs right as he's exploding. It's so good.
Yeah, I don't even think he really cares that he's about to die in that situation. He's just like, oh my God, magic skulls.
He's having the time of his life, mate, and you got to respect him for it.
I do. I do indeed. And even somebody else, when I just was, joking around saying that I was watching this movie, someone was like, damn, Treat Williams like way delivers. He goes hard in this movie as a villain. I was like, he certainly does.
He's so
Could have
good.
used more of that.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's kind of what's missing in a lot of modern superhero movies, is just like a cartoony villain, like no gray area. He's just a bad person.
Yeah, he's got the evil mustache. Like, even his outfit looks kind of sinister because it's like he's so dressed up in comparison. Like, that's one thing I noticed about the costuming. Like, other than Billy, who's wearing purple, everybody else is just kind of wearing brown, or like brown and white. And then at least with Drax, he's got like sort of like a pinstripe, like either it's dark navy blue or black. He's got like the 3-piece, so there's the vest underneath. He's got the big Windsor knot, and he's even got a tie bar in there behind it as well. So I'm like, they really made sure that like when we see him, like he looks the part of a guy who stands out from the rest of the crowd. Because like even James Raymar, it's just everyone's just like brown and white.
Yeah,
everybody's Indiana Jonesing all over the place here.
It's the Rocketeer aesthetic,
right?
Which I don't hate, but yeah, Kabai Seng, he stands out as well. All of his goons really stand out as well. But yeah, I see what you mean. But yeah, I don't know, like he's doing such a different performance to everyone else in this film as well. I think that's probably where this movie falls down a little as well, is everybody is kind of giving a slight variation on like the interpretation of these characters. Like even Billy Zane's portrayal of Kit and his portrayal of the Phantom, like his acting styles are so different between the two characters. Like when he's in the Phantom costume, I feel like he's kind of giving a lot of that silent cinema style of acting where his movements are very exaggerated, like when he's stalking, he's all like hunched over and like almost in a Spider-Man pose. Like everything he does looks like it's the most important thing in the world. Whereas when he's playing Kit, he's kind of got more of like a blasé attitude towards it. He doesn't really emote that much. So yeah, I don't know. It does feel a little bit all over the place at times.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think in terms of his physicality, there's a scene where I assume it's him because I know he did a lot of his own stunts, but where he dual wields the pistols and then like scissors them against the elevator cable. And then he's hanging from the ledge as the elevator's descending.
Yep.
He tosses his guns to make sure that he can grip the ledge. And then he pulls himself up into a somersault where he scoops both guns no look off the ground and then gets up and starts running.
Yep.
And I'm like, that's like really smooth, but it's also shot in a way where it doesn't actually showcase how smooth it was. Because I was like, did he already have his guns in hand? I thought he threw them out the elevator shaft. So I had to go back and watch, and I was like, no, he really did it like the hard way for that.
Yeah.
And so that's like a good subtle character thing that I think shooting it from sort of like profile angle doesn't do the justice of what we're actually having the actor perform. Like if you're shooting it head on, like you see him come up out of the elevator shaft, he rolls towards the camera, you see both guns on the floor and get picked up. So it's just like a framing question there. Yeah. And it's just kind of a weird thing to include in the movie and then shoot it kind of like wide shot in profile and not really like showcase that like, hey, this guy does cool shit, you know?
It might have been one of those things where they didn't think it was going to be as cool as it ended up looking. It's just one of those things Billy Zane carried off because they place a lot more emphasis on the cable slide, which is fine, but it's definitely not as smooth as what he pulls at the elevator. And then in the same scene, there's a bit where he like bumps a lady and she drops her purse. And he, even though he's in mid chase, he kind of stops to pick up the purse and give it back to her. Like that's a really cool thing as well. A little detail in his character where, he's still like kind of honoring those old school traditions of heroes do good, even when they're in mid chase.
Yeah, you gotta help the old lady when you knock the purse out of her hand. So yeah, good for goodness sake, right?
I have a question for you actually, unless you've got more.
Yeah.
The Phantom in general. Do you think he could work in today's era of comic book movies? Like, could you see him in either the DCU or the MCU making an appearance and fitting in with that ensemble?
The character maybe, but I don't know if this character in this movie. if you drop Billy Zane's version of this into, like, if you put him next to the Punisher, right? Like, we both got skulls on our outfits, we both got guns, but we are very, very different. Like you could have some fun with the juxtaposition. I think I think in order for this guy to exist now, you'd have to really take it a lot more seriously. You'd have to consider him to be more of a Batman-like character. It's not that you can't have fun. It's not that it can't be colorful. It's not that his motivations like can't be transparent, but there's just a lot of myth building, I think, that needs to exist for this guy because he would just be so readily overpowered, like even by like someone like Batman. Like I think Batman would just beat the shit out of this guy because the Phantom won't shoot him, right? So Batman would just like beat him down like relentlessly.
Well, I mean, and maybe not in the jungle. Maybe in the jungle, the Phantom has a slight advantage.
Yeah, okay, that's fair.
But even then, Batman seems more camouflaged in the jungle than the Phantom does, actually.
So, like, I think, with... I don't want to say too much because I know you haven't seen Superman, but I think with James Gunn at the head of DC now, he's got a very particular style of humor. He's not afraid to be colorful. And if he really wanted to bring this character in some capacity, I think it might be doable. But I would be curious to watch. I know they did like either a miniseries or 1 or 2 seasons of a show called The Phantom where he almost looks like he's about to like head into Tron or something. He's got like a weird visor. And then there was also the Phantom cartoon, which was the Phantom 2040. So it was set in the future. And I heard good things about that. So it would be interesting to look at some of those stories rather than borrowing from the serialized comics and trying to interpret like how do character archetypes that are kind of like laughed at in modern day fit. And I think the promising thing is that we saw something like that character curve with Captain America in the original run through Avengers, where he kind of was this Boy Scout that like, oh, he couldn't say curse words, and like Tony was the cool tech billionaire, and then as tech billionaires in real life like revealed themselves to be kind of shitty, disgusting people, and their public stock tanked, you saw the characterization of Captain America change. And when they do the Civil War storyline, I feel like he's sort of fighting for the protection of his people in that way. And so all of a sudden I'm seeing like Captain America's like sort of Boy Scoutness came back around to be this very redeeming quality for him, versus him being the punchline kind of early on as the man out of time. So I think it is doable, but it's gonna take work and like actual consideration to the time difference, because Captain America again is a character that was coming from this era, was then frozen in time, and then used as the butt of these jokes. So it is possible. I know that it is possible. It's just like someone has to actually like the Phantom enough and care enough to actually go about doing it.
I think there is definitely a resurgence of like this yearning for like a quaintness, I guess. You kind of see it in the Fantastic Four movie as well, where it's a very like idealized version of the world. And I think this version of the Phantom kind of falls in line with that tone, I guess, where, you know, like he's not overly dark, he's not overly serious, but that's okay. You know, he'll still pick up your purse if you drop it.
Yeah, and I think like the choice to set the Fantastic Four in the 60s was like a very intentional decision to like, you know, revitalize some of those feelings, especially when something like Thunderbolts is so exceedingly modern. I mean, I don't hold that against it. I mean, it's a superhero movie that's trying to do a lot in terms of like mental health stuff, which is a lot to take on for that kind of superhero movie, but it is very dark. It is very sort of self-aware and brooding, and I think tapping into a kind of loneliness and depression that I'm sure a lot of people are feeling. And so to go from like all the way from that to Fantastic Four, and the Fantastic Four, like you said, is this very idealized sort of version of the world in the 60s, like during the space race, American exceptionalism, like all that kind of stuff. So it's very intentional. And so I know that it can be done. I don't think it will be done.
Bring back Sam Worthington. Put him in the purple tights.
I don't think, well, I mean, he's a little busy, but I mean, his Avatar residual should, you know, last a while. So
yeah, it takes years to make one of those movies. Surely he's got some downtime in there somewhere.
Yeah, and his head is already mostly shaved, so it'll fit in the cowl right away. The one thing I was going to say was that if I was going to put a musical number in this movie, I would probably do it either where they first descend on like the pirate cave. And so we get a big Kabai Sang and Pirates musical number.
Oh, yeah.
At the very end. I think the setting is good for that. And then I don't know. That's probably it. I'll leave it there.
Yeah, I'm sure.
I'm not going to top that.
Kari Hiroyuki Tagawa has probably got some decent pipes on him. I reckon he can belt one out.
Be good for it. He's very theatrical as well, so
love him. Yeah.
Could definitely pull it off. Yeah, he's great. Okay, well, let's go over to more or less, and you tell me just the one thing you want more of and the one thing that you want less of in this movie.
I feel like we could have done with more Sang Brotherhood stuff in this movie. Yeah, I feel like as much as I like Drax, I feel like he should have been a secondary villain to Kabai Sang. Because I guess because they were planning on more movies, they were probably saving that kind of stuff for the later movies. So it does make sense.
That's true.
But seeing as they didn't have the opportunity to turn this into a trilogy, could do with more Sang Brotherhood.
I mean, didn't they have him get eaten by a shark though? Like, if they were planning a trilogy, You killed off.
He's
Cam
probably
Sang.
got a legacy, He's probably got
his son is somewhere in that
sons.
pirate cave.
Yeah. You know how it works. They've just lined them up ready to go.
Mm-hmm.
And what would I want less of, though? I feel like I would want less light in this movie. Like I like being able to see stunts and see the action, but I feel like it's a little bit too much in this movie. And maybe that's just a function of how silly the Phantom costume is, but I don't know. Like just watching the trailer that we watched just now, I feel like that is much better lit than the movie itself. Like it creates more of a mysterious atmosphere, and it makes the Phantom feel more like a threat than he does in the movie.
Yeah, and I think also, like, with a character like Batman, there's a notion that, like, crime, at least when you don't want to get caught, is, like, committed at night, so you have the cover of night to your advantage. It's like, all these people are just... Drax, this is a well-known public figure, just breaks into the museum.
Yeah, he had the option to wait till night, but he's like, nah, let's do it now.
Not only did he have the option to wait till night, like, he knew where the skull was the whole time, and he decided to go get the more difficult one first.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, he just waited, and then in broad daylight, he's like, no, I'm management, everything's fine, and everyone's like, yeah, I believe him. He looks like he's the manager.
And it was fine. He did get it.
That's true.
And they
was
conveniently, they pointed to where the third skull was.
Fortunately, that map was on the wall, because I don't know what would have happened had the map not been on the wall. I was like, is it going to work like a compass where they just follow the laser infinitely?
Yeah. Just slicing planes in half. It's funny because the skulls point to the map, and then Drax uses the coordinates he gets from that map to find out where to go. But couldn't he just use the map? I don't know. Like, why did he have to cross-reference it with coordinates? Like, and it's not like the skulls like wrote down coordinates either. He would have had to go up to the map and get the coordinates. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what Drax is doing.
He sent his like hench people to do that, I assume. He's got people that do that. But is there anything else that you wanted to talk about before we move along?
No, I think I'm good.
All right. Well, then we go to Critics Corner, where we get to hear the horrible things. Undeniably, probably horrible things that the critics had to say about this movie.
Undeniable,
again,
probably true things. Probably pretty accurate.
Yeah. So, like I said, I think the score total was higher than I expected. So there's more yellow on the board than I thought, and there's some green on there too. But we start at the bottom in the red because it has a Metascore of 53. That means it needs some ballast to weigh it down, and that is the San Francisco Examiner with a 38. This is Walter Adego, says the Phantom is a spiritless affair likely to vanish quickly from first-run screens. Well, he wasn't necessarily wrong in that it did not make a ton of money. It opened 7th, so it didn't even open strong.
Yeah. I mean, that's not a bad review. I like the parallels to the idea of a phantom as well, disappearing from the screens. Not inaccurate as well. Like he, it did get a resurgence on VHS, right? But initially not super well received. What did he say? Spiritless. I disagree with that element of the review. I think there's a fair bit of spirit in this movie. It just seems to have been whittled away a little bit. Like, it seems like everybody involved was into the production, especially Billy Zane.
Yeah. No, I mean, from all accounts, like, it was a good filmmaking process to make, but it was rushed, it was rewritten, it was cheapened by the studio, their filming locations changed, so there's a lot of stuff going on in that 6 months. So the fact that they even made this movie in 6 months is fairly impressive. But
it feels earnest.
It does, yeah, of course it does. I mean, I think that is the charm of the character, is that he is very earnest. I wanted like more characterization. But let's see, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 50s on the board. You can choose between Time Out, the New York Times, the San Francisco Chronicle, or TV Guide magazine.
Well, let's go New York Times, since, this movie is largely set in New York. Let's see whether that patriotism comes through in this review.
We get one sentence from Lawrence Van Gelder. It says, the pleasures are familiar, but not the least bit inspired.
Okay. So yeah, she's seen this kind of thing before. Does this movie innovate? Not particularly. I can't disagree with that review either. Honestly, it is kind of like just an amalgamation of ideas, without much innovation.
Yeah, and this movie, despite the fact that I enjoy the way Drax enjoys himself dying, I hate
unbelievable.
It has one of the things I hate most in movies, which is what I call like the hose battle between like two streams of power, where they just collide, and it's like, well, we're gonna do this. I'm like, why?
The Dragon Ball
every
fan?
other movie. I mean, look, it's fine. Maybe it works in Dragon Ball, but I've seen it in Godzilla and Harry Potter and every other movie where there's like a projectile. It was in the X-Men movie with Cyclops and Storm or something, and I'm like, I don't think lightning and concussive lasers line up equally like that, but just I think visually it's I mean, granted this is 1996, but visually this has just been done to death at this point. And I mean, it's even in Ballerina. I think at least Ballerina does it practically and it looks cool for what they're doing, but yeah, it happens in Ballerina. So
I'm very interested to find out how it happens in Ballerina. Are they just shooting bullets at each other?
It's just a perfectly synchronized machine gun fire meeting directly in the middle.
That's so interesting.
you will have to find out the traditional way, which is watching it yourself. But all right, let's go up the board here, and we've got 2 60s. We've got one from Empire and one from the BBC.
All right, let's hear what the Brits had to say about this film.
All right. Well, they gave it a 60 at least, so it's better than New York Times. They say, whether the film excites you or not, it does excel with some glossy art direction that looks suitably slick in a quality picture transfer. Clear and sharp, this is a pleasure to watch. All right. Yeah. They like the light. They're like, more light, please.
Yeah. Okay. That's interesting. I do like the art direction in this film. I like all the costuming. And I think they managed to make the Phantom costume not look as silly as it could have. Like you mentioned the sci-fi movie, the sci-fi TV series reboot. I think the costume in that show is infinitely worse than this interpretation. So I'm glad that they went for like a straightforward, this is the Phantom costume. Yeah, I mean, I've said what I think about the lights, but I guess for some people, sure.
Yeah, glossy. I mean, that's one way to put it. But I mean, saying the film looks good, I think, is a compliment. I do think for the most part it does look good, but would have benefited from some darkness for a character who is rumored to be a ghost or immortal or any of that, So it is what it is. But let's see, we've got 2 scores that are kind of in the same range. So I'm going to let you pick between the authors. One is Mark Savlov. The other is James Berardinelli, both of whom are frequent offenders here on the show.
Okay, who's the meaner one?
Typically, depends on the genre. I think Savlov is typically meaner.
All right, let's go with Savlov then.
All right, Austin Chronicle gave it a 67 out of 100. Says the Nintendo generation may not quote unquote get the Phantom any more than those original 30s fans would have understood Bruce Wayne's tortured psyche. But that aside, Wincer's updating of an old warhorse is lovingly done. It's a Saturday afternoon matinee for the 90s, 60 years old and totally new.
Yeah, I mean, that's a very apt description of this film. It definitely has its flaws, but I think the intent is quite genuine. The intent to bring a character from the 30s into and show like modern audiences what this character was all about.
Yeah, I didn't even consider at the time the introduction of like video game culture expanding so much in the mid 90s, where, you know, Metroid, Contra, Mega Man, like heavy sort of adventure shooters were being made as well at that time and were super popular. Street Fighter 2, hugely popular in the 90s. So like even the sort of like baseline level for video games had advanced to the point of very action heavy, and a lot of them had shooting involved. So to see a guy who like kind of is very reserved about using his guns and isn't even as action heavy as a video game you could play, that's a good point.
Yeah. Kids would have been like, why is Shang Tsung not sucking out people's souls? You know, what was he doing? Swashbuckling.
Yeah, he had just done Mortal Kombat like the year before this, which James Raymar also is a Mortal Kombat.
Oh yeah,
the second one.
Second Raiden.
Yeah, Second Raiden.
A bad movie.
Oh, indeed. Okay, well, we get to the top of the board, and lo and behold, it's our friend over at the Chicago Sun-Times. It's Roger Ebert.
Oh, all right.
Gave it an 88.
Oh, he would have been the prime audience for this kind of film, I feel.
Yeah, well, it looks like he was. He said this movie is wonderfully entertaining, red-blooded and rousing, and with a production design that makes it uncommonly handsome.
Okay, yeah.
Seems like he's a Billy Zane fan.
Billy Zane is uncommonly handsome.
Yeah, nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, I think that Roger Ebert is the perfect audience member for this film, because, you know, he's of that age group where he can appreciate, you know, the homage to the 30s era of storytelling in the Phantom character, but also like the old Hollywood traditions that they're trying to convey. Like I mentioned Billy Zane's like very physical acting style when he is portraying the Phantom. I think that's a very specific and intentional choice on Zane's behalf, to kind of portray that, which is probably lost on a lot of cinema goers at that time, especially for the way this film was sold. Like, yeah, you're not getting like the Nintendo era of kids going, oh, I love how they honored old Hollywood tradition. So I do feel like, yeah, if there were more people spending money like of Roger Ebert's age group and cinema taste, this movie might have been a success. But alas.
Yeah. Alas, it was not. What a shame.
Well, I mean, it's the Phantom, so it's not a huge loss. Like.
Well, next year is 30 years, so maybe the Phantom officially enters its like reappraisal territory at that point. But
would you like to see Zane come back to play old Phantom?
Maybe he's the one who gets knifed in the back this time, and we get who could play Billy Zane's kid at this point. I don't know. I'd have to think about that a little bit more, but yeah, I wouldn't mind Billy coming back. I know, you know, he was getting a lot of praise for the Brando biopic portrayal, which I don't even know if that movie came out. I think it's done,
okay,
but I haven't actually seen it get circulated. But it was all the buzz last year, and then I never saw it, and I saw no one talk about it during Oscar season, so I assume it hasn't been released yet. But yeah, I mean, I'd be fine. Yeah, bring Billy back. This is Billy Zane month, so
he's great.
Yeah,
he's great.
Get your ass back here, Billy. I don't care.
Yeah, he got Titanic off the back of this film, right?
He did, yeah. So he went from this to Titanic. Didn't he survive Titanic? He gets on one
his
of the
character.
boats.
Yeah, he did, but I believe he takes his own life during the Great Depression or something.
Oh, yeah. All right. Well, no sequel in the works for that character, but maybe for this one, we get another 60-year-old Phantom, and this time we see what it's like to be old and maybe needing your heir to step up, and maybe the heir is studying abroad in New York and he doesn't want to be the Phantom. I think
there's a lot to that storyline. Like it's kind of a throwaway plot point in this film, and probably was in the comics as well. But the idea of training your child to eventually take over this very dangerous job, that's insane. That's something an insane person would do.
And I think more so even now, there's a greater awareness of like not wanting to be the parent that pushes your personality preferences onto your children.
Yeah.
There was a
Get in the
great
purple suit,
right?
Stop crying.
There's a great joke going around online. I don't know, a couple of years ago I saw it, but it was the caption was like dads making their sons watch all of their favorite movies, and it was the scene from Total Recall where he says, "You're not you, you're me."
Yeah.
So it's like parents like forcing their children like into these patterns so that they can then like live vicariously through the kid rather than letting the kid be their own person. So I think, like you said, there is a lot of stuff to play with if you actually decide to tell that portion of the story, and you don't even have to be that Phantom heavy if that's the case. I mean, granted, you want it to be an action movie and stuff, but
I'm not a huge fan of like modernizing a character that doesn't necessarily need to be modernized. But I do think that that in itself is a very interesting kind of element to this story that they don't really delve into. Maybe they do in like later comics. Is the Phantom still running as a comic? Probably not.
I don't know. That is a good question. I mean, I still get comics. I haven't seen it in print, so I would say probably not. But the good news is that because this movie takes place in 1939, even if we fast forward 30 years to Old Man Phantom, we're still only on the cusp of the 70s. Like, you have the Vietnam War to play with, you have the civil rights, you have the space race. There's a lot of like cultural stuff going on at that time where you could actually have some very rich storytelling, where this one is like, we're getting in and out right before World War II so that we don't have to like tackle any of that big stuff. And then maybe Drax is a Nazi, but we're also not going to go there because we don't have the bandwidth to explain it for this movie.
Imagine old Phantom crossing paths with old Indiana Jones. Trying to get those crystal skulls. You know, they both love skulls.
Right? I mean, maybe the crystal skull was really the secret fourth one the whole time.
There you go. It all comes together.
Yeah, maybe. All right, well, that crossover's still on the table. I know Harrison Ford's out there. Significantly older than Billy Zane, but shit, let's do it. All right, two things I wanted to mention quickly before we get to the Gateway Drug movie. One was that dude getting cannonballed by the pirates.
Love it.
Because he doesn't just get like a hole blown through his chest. He gets launched like 50 feet across the room.
Yeah. Love accurate portrayals of cannons in movies. You know, they're not exploding balls. They're just like solid steel metal balls being hurled into their victims. Love it.
I feel like I want to see more people getting shot with cannons in movies now, to be honest.
Yeah. That's classic.
Do it practically.
Behavior.
Yeah, classic pirate behavior.
Pirates versus gangsters. There are pirates versus gangsters in this film. That's great. I like that.
Yeah, exactly. What other? I mean, yes, it happens all like within the span of 5 minutes, but like, when is that ever going to happen again? And then maybe even secret Nazis. So there's a lot of stuff going on. And then I think the other sort of like interesting, weird tactical thing was as the Phantom hits the two cronies with the double head scissor, which I feel like the single head scissor choke out or neck break is already difficult enough to pull off.
Yeah.
But to double head scissor, two guys and one scissor, and choke them out, Billy's been not skipping leg day at the gym.
It's the power of sushi, mate.
Sushi and squats.
Yeah.
He's got you covered. Okay. Well, I think that's as good of a segue as I'm going to get to go over to the Gateway Drug movie. So you get to choose a movie for our audience that is going to help them make the decision to push play on the Phantom. So what is a good launching pad? Something hopefully that people have seen which will give them some trust to start the Phantom.
I feel like the movies that I'm thinking of are better than the Phantom. So, like, The Mask of Zorro is one of them.
Yeah.
You know, The Mummy is pretty in line with this as well, but they're both far superior to the Phantom. So I don't want to disappoint people. Yeah, we've mentioned The Shadow. The Shadow is pretty similar, but without the adventure elements, right?
True. More detective-y.
Yeah, maybe Cutthroat Island. I haven't rewatched Cutthroat Island in a long time, but I remember having a good time with it when I was a kid. And
that's
probably like more of the same tone as this film.
That's one that got floated in conversation for me a couple of times, asking if I had ever done it or if I'm going to do it. And I don't know the answer to that question, but it has popped up as sort of a bad movies we love type of movie. And I feel like I'm going to steal one of your answers from earlier and say The Rocketeer, because A, I love The Rocketeer. B, I feel like it dabbles in a lot of the same currency that the Phantom does. It just has its edges a little bit more clearly refined. Like Cliff Secord is, I think, a much easier character to cheer for. I think having like the old Alan Arkin character be his mechanic is kind of like a endearing relationship between the two of them. The villain is very notably a Nazi, so it's like he's even more evil than just like a standard evil dude. And Jennifer Connelly, so like bonus points all around for The Rocketeer. So that's a good one.
I would have mentioned The Rocketeer, but again, I think it's better than the Phantom. So.
It is. I mean, if I were really pushed, I would say maybe the 60s era Batman movie where they like dehydrate the New York City Council or something. They turn them into like piles of powder. Because it's very campy. It's very colorful. It's decidedly dated, I think. And so if you can get on board with the Adam West Batman style, you could put on the Phantom right after that and be like, oh, I see some noticeable steps forward from the time when this movie was made in the 60s. So, yeah, but still, I feel like I just want to watch The Rocketeer now.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like, The Rocketeer is a great example of that kind of naive tone, I guess. That because is that a Joe Johnston film as well, right?
I think so.
Yeah. So like it does carry that same through line of like you've got this hero that, you know, he's good to a point where it's kind of cheesy and hokey, but you end up rooting for him in the end.
No, I agree. And he's a little reluctant to do it, but like he does it because it's the right thing and because Nazis are bad.
Yeah.
Yep, it's on Disney.
Can't argue with that.
No, it's on Disney Plus right now. I might actually check it out. But I will say before I move on from Rocketeer, it is not scored poorly enough for me to talk about it on the show any other time. So this bit of personal trivia will never come out. But I was so very close to spending about $400 on a custom Rocketeer helmet.
Oh.
Not to necessarily wear or anything, but just to have as a thing in my house. And it had like very nicely padded leather inside. It was like a guy who was just a fan who made custom versions of it. And I was like, you know what? I have some disposable income. Like, can I justify a $400 Rocketeer helmet? And the answer was no. Now, I think he doesn't make them anymore is what happened. But there might be one out there somewhere. But I did recently pick up one of the new issues of the comic that came out maybe like 6 months to a year ago. I've yet to read it, but I've got it waiting for me when I'm ready.
Yeah, there's a lot to love in The Rocketeer. I think that the Rocketeer comic's not as old as the Phantom, I feel like. But yeah, it's kind of got the same vibe.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. And look, Sometimes you just gotta find the right vibe and just go for it. So
it's a shame they're not giving away Rocketeer helmets with your popcorn and
right, re-release and give me that bucket, and I'll wear it. Don't even put popcorn in. I'll watch the whole movie with that thing on my head.
I'll stick my dick in it. No worries.
Well, that's after we get home from the theater.
Yeah.
But the last time we got together, we were doing a little collaboration for John Woo Lai, but it is officially August now. So what do you got going on over at Two Asian Blokes?
Not a lot, to be honest. We took John Woo Lai as an opportunity to kind of step away from more recent stuff, I guess, because generally we cover things that are coming out at the time. So we've actually missed a lot of stuff that came out in July and that I'm not sure if we're going to cover yet. Like Squid Game season 3 came out.
Oh, wow.
In July, and when we haven't talked about that. We didn't even talk about season 2 when that came out. So that's probably on the cards. Tavi has been busy, which is another reason he didn't come on this episode. But he's been busy with his short film. So
he's making movies. We're just talking about him.
I know. So yeah, people can jump on our channel to kind of follow how that's going. We just released a teaser for it at time of recording. But yeah, we also need to get you on the show at some point to talk about Asian movie of some kind.
Some disturbing Asian movie is what I've got on my calendar.
Yes, so I'll check in with Tavi to see what disturbing movie he's got in line for you, but it'll be a good one. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Asian horror is really a deep category that I've kind of only scratched the surface on, so I'm sure there's something in there that I haven't seen that's fucked up.
It'll be horrible. Not necessarily horror,
okay.
But
Gotcha, okay.
We'll see.
All right, well, that sounds like a plan to me. It's been a pleasure, as always.
Yeah, thank you for having me on.
Yeah, I'm glad we got to do this because somewhere in the back of my mind, like The Phantom was always one of these movies that sort of most clearly had its identity fingerprints on me coming up with the show. Like, had I not seen The Phantom, I don't know that I ever accumulate enough of these movies to be like, I should do an entire thing just dedicated to these kinds of movies. So it's one that should be on the poster for sure.
Yeah. I mean, it's a good looking poster, but yeah, I had to jump at the opportunity to talk about The Phantom because when else am I going to be able to do it? To be honest, nobody's talking about The Phantom 1996.
Exactly. And you know what? When I put out the request and I was like, who wants to take on some Billy Zane movies? Like, The Phantom was the last one taken off the board. So I was like, oh man, I'm not going to get to do it. And then you hit up the Phantom phone line and rang in the Skull Cave, and here we are. So thank you.
My pleasure.
Cool. Well, have a good one, and we will coordinate whatever's next shortly.
Thanks, Nick.
Cool. Have a good one.
You too.
Thanks to Dan for coming back on the show and taking a risk doing it solo, because otherwise, The Phantom would have never made it out of that cave in the Bengali jungle and onto the airwaves here at Bad Movies We Love. If you had even half as much fun with us as we had talking about The Phantom with one another, I would highly encourage you to check out the Two Asian Blokes podcast with Dan and his partner Tavi, who've been on the show before. You can catch them on YouTube and any podcast platform of your choice. And I'm going to make sure that all that stuff is easily accessible for you, one click away in the show notes. And of course, thank you to everyone who took the time to listen to the episode. I know there's a seemingly infinite number of options when it comes to podcasts, and I appreciate you letting me into your ear holes and hopefully into your hearts. In all seriousness, though, time is valuable, and I am very grateful that you've entrusted me with yours. If you enjoy the show, please consider leaving a review or at least a rating and telling a friend about it. If you don't enjoy it, then maybe let's keep that between us. As I mentioned in the open, the new members-only section is in fact live at badmovieswelove.captivate.fm/support, where you're going to get access to a bunch of goodies for only $5 a month. And I would absolutely love to hear from you, so if you have a bad movie you love and would like to be a guest on the show, you can contact me at badmovieswelove@theshice.com or badmovieswelove spelled LUV on Twitter and Instagram. And until next time, take care, be well, stay safe, and have fun however you get your movies. I know you're out there somewhere, Rids. I love you.